Okay, so first and foremost, if I could just get you to, could you please give me your name, please?
Alston Frederick Hughes.
Is that how you'd like to be? Would you like me to call you Smiles in the piece, or?
No, Smiles.
And when your name when your picture is on the TV, would you like to be credited as Smiles or Alston Frederick Hughes? What would you prefer?
No, Smiles.
Smiles. There we are. Okay, fine. How do you spell Alston? O-L-S-T-O-N?
No, A-L-S-T-O-N.
A-L-S. Alston Frederick Hughes. That's great. Thank you. First and foremost, then, Smiles, could you tell me what your involvement was in this infamous Welsh story?
Infamous. Mm.
Well, would you disagree? Maybe do you not think?
It's famous. I was in this organisation in its early days, before it came to Wales, and then for various reasons I was excluded from the same organisation, but re-entered it later while I was living in Llandough Brefi in mid Wales. I was a major distributor, basically. I didn't have any further involvement than that, but that was pretty big.
Yes, and what was, could you give me an idea what that sort of entailed and what it was like for you?
Well, essentially, the whole system was run on a cell system, so I knew the fellow directly above me. I would meet him, he would give me packages, I would give him money. I would then divide that into smaller packages as demand dictated, basically. And to a point where I was doing maybe 100,000 trips a week. So it was pretty busy time as it goes.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. And trips sort of around where? You know, what was the sort of area? What do we?
Well, no, most people came to me directly, or I'd go to various cities, to Birmingham, to London, Amsterdam on occasion. Yeah, but mostly people would come and collect from me.
Yeah, and of course when police got involved and eventually it all sort of came out, tell me what happened to you?
Oh, well, I was rudely awoken one morning at 5 o'clock by somebody knocking down my front door, putting a pistol to my head and dragging me out of bed.
And what happened then?
I was handcuffed to myself and handcuffed to a policeman and dragged around the house while they searched it thoroughly for the next several hours, all the while refusing to speak to them at all. Eventually, they had intelligence from one of the other addresses that was raided, took me back in the kitchen, went to open a packet of cereal, and they said, "Are there drugs in here?" And I said, "No, there's certainly no drugs in there." So they carefully opened it and tipped it upside down, and £14,000 just spilled out all over the floor. So I was telling the truth.
And you were convicted, weren't you?
I pled guilty. The evidence is irrefutable, basically, and I was sentenced to 8 years in prison.
And without wanting to go into too much detail, what were those 8 years like for you?
Long.
In a word, long.
Yes.
And if we come to the present day and this show,
Yes.
when you first heard about it, what was your reaction?
When Gaynor first approached me, I didn't see how it could be done, to be quite honest. But she's been very diligent, she's worked very hard, and she's come up with a hit. It's really good, it's entertaining, it's relevant, it's funny, and the music's great, it really is.
What did you think about the concept? You know, did you sort of, did you see potential in it, or did you think it was something that didn't need to be sort of turned into a stage musical?
Oh no, I think it's good. I think the more people come to understand about psychedelics, they then understand that these aren't nasty drugs. These are tools that we can use to further develop ourselves as human beings. The whole idea in the beginning was to change the world, as you will hear in the show.
And what about the music? Because it's, from what I've only had a flavour here, but it sounds pretty good.
Oh, it is. It's very, very good. In fact, I've heard it said that some of the performances here are better than the original tracks, and I can't dispute that.
And are you depicted in the show?
I am indeed.
And what's that like?
That was kind of funny the first time I saw it, but I've seen it a few times now, and I'm quite comfortable with it. You know, I'm still an advocate of the use of LSD, and yeah, I like it.
Is it an accurate depiction?
Well, yes, I mean, obviously, you know, dramatic license has to be taken because the story is rather more involved than that which is represented on stage. But you get a flavour of it.
And when I was talking to Gaynor earlier and some of the cast, I was saying, you know, it's perhaps easy to be sort of quite flippant about this story in that it is, you know, a tale in deepest, darkest West Wales. It's an unexpected tale in many ways, but there is, you know, a really serious story at the heart of it as well, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you know, once people discovered LSD particularly, a lot of minds were changed. People started to realise that the way we as a species are developing and living on this planet was non-sustainable. And what we needed was a change of direction, more cooperation between peoples and societies. And had they listened, we might not be in the mess that we're in at the moment.
Has there been, not necessarily a backlash, but has anyone questioned whether this is sort of glorifying anything that shouldn't be glorified? Have there been any questions?
I haven't heard any, if there has been. In fact, all I've seen has been absolutely positive. And people that I've spoken to who've come and spoken to me, shaken my hand and said, thank you. Many people throughout my travels throughout the world, once they've learned of my involvement in this, have thanked me because LSD changed their lives for the better.
How do you look back on all that happened during that period? You know, how do you reflect on that now with hindsight, with years?
Well, obviously, I wish I hadn't have been arrested, you know, and I do wish that we had affected change in a more positive way that might have led to a different world than the one we currently live in.
And how do you see, out of interest, you know, the world that we currently live in?
It's a bloody shambles. I don't think we can continue as a species in the way that we are. It's not on. We're destroying our own environment. And this ridiculous idea that you can have continuous growth on a finite planet, well, it's just that. It's ridiculous.
And as you say, you're still an advocate for the use of LSD?
Absolutely, I am. Yes.
And why is that?
Because it deconditions people. It allows them to see the world and connect in a way that we're not connecting currently. Man seems to want to put a barrier between himself and nature, but we are a part of nature, and nature is a part of us. There's no escaping that, and we need to live in a better and more sustainable way.
Let's just go back to the show. Were you a musicals fan yourself at all?
Well, no, not really. But then this is not any old musical.
And why is that? What makes it different?
The subject matter, essentially, and the choice of music. Yes, I mean, lots of shows have songs that are written for the show that take the theme of the show along, whereas the LSD probably influenced all the artists who made the original tracks. I think I can say that without I don't know.
Without, what's the word? Without
anybody
anyway,
saying
yes,
different.
Yes, yeah. And does it bring back any memories at all when you see the show?
Well, yes, it does actually. it does. It brings back a very, very happy time in my life. In mid Wales, having a great time, really. I love Llandough Baby. I love Wales and the Welsh people. I like the fact that they're anarchic.
That's great. And so, yeah, obviously, it sort of evokes memories for yourself. But in sort of to summarise the show, how would you summarise the show for somebody who hasn't necessarily seen it?
It's a musical extravaganza. It's funny. Come and see it. See for yourselves. Make up your own mind.
And many people, I guess, will question, sort of the story, drugs, LSD, etc. That's not. Is that a subject that could be made into a musical? But it seems it absolutely is.
Oh, it is indeed. It really is. Yes, you couldn't see them making one about spice or any of these horrible new synthetic drugs that are available, whereas LSD is not a toxic substance, whereas many of the drugs that are available today that are there only to make money and addict people, they are very different kettles of fish.
Is there anything else in particular you want to say? I think I've asked pretty much everything I want. Is there anything else you want to mention?
I can't say. You could read my biography.
So you have a biography, In Search of Smiles. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, on the heels of this, on the heels of Gaynor coming to see me about making this musical quite some years ago now, I was contacted by a fellow called Andy Roberts, the author of said tome, and he said he would like to do my biography. Well, I had been approached several times by different people, none of whom were experienced with LSD, so there were very little point in talking to them, because unless you've experienced it, you probably won't know what I was talking about. So when he said he was interested in doing my biography, I fell in with that. We recorded a number of interviews. He interviewed some of my friends from a long time ago, even a school friend, and the result is this book.
Oh, great. And another question, I guess, about with regards to Gaynor and the cooperation. You know, how much of a role did you play on sort of informing Gaynor about the story and giving some tidbits of?
I could only really tell her about my own involvement. I mean, obviously, I was aware to some degree of everybody else's involvement because we spent quite a lot of time in custody on remand. So, you know, information was exchanged, and because it had been a cell structure, most of us hadn't met each other prior to our arrest. So, you know, there was quite a lot to talk about, you might say.
Yes, I'm sure. But it is a realistic, as you said, it's an artistic license, but it is a realistic...
Oh yes, it tells the story. It definitely tells the story.
And one worth telling, you think?
Oh, I really do. I really do. Come and see it.
Thank you very much, Smiles. That's great. Perfect. Thank you very much.